Hey everybody, it's Chris. I hope you've been enjoying these episodes. Do me a favor, man. Go out there, put something out on social media for me, man. Go out there, Insta, Facebook, maybe LinkedIn, maybe hit me up on YouTube. Let everybody know about the Small Business Safari. We have grown. We're getting a lot of feedback on the episodes, and I want to talk for a minute about that. Alan and I are very serious about putting out good content that also educates and entertains you, man. Have some fun. And sometimes that technology just doesn't work like we'd hoped. In this next episode, we had a little issue with our technology, so we pulled the episode down because we wanted to make sure we were delivering high quality content for you guys to help you guys grow your business and keep going. So I hope you enjoyed this one. This is Cristi Decoufle talking about her journey from a sex crimes unit police investigative detective to real estate broker in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Enjoy, everybody.
A little more tease. Christy, what are some of the places you actually had to frequent in your public service career?
Oh, I don't know, all the strip clubs and massage parlors and, you know, what most people do when they're in law enforcement.
Awesome. Guys, we're not only going to the sex area. We're going to go
Crimes unit.
sex crimes unit. We're going to be true crimes and sex. I mean, we're going to blow off the charts at this level.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Brace for it, everybody. That's what I got to keep telling Alan because we got to get going again. Guys are probably driving around in trucks, doing your thing, getting around, checking out biz, making things happen. But we've got an episode today that you're going to make sure you get your ears perked up on. We're going to make sure the sound is pristine, Alan, because that's what we've been working on. We were supposed to have started this podcast, about 48 minutes ago. But don't worry about that, everybody. You are here on minute one, and you are getting ready to listen to all this stuff. But before we go talk about our guests, I just got to do this. You're not supposed to give your timestamp. You're not supposed to do this.
I know where you're going with this.
Habamus, Papam. That's right, baby. My faith has a new shepherd. The flock has a new leader.
And you lost your betting pool.
And I
He didn't bet on the home team.
that is a disgrace that people who bet on the Pope.
Yeah. How many pools were you in?
I lost.
That's right.
And I did not, I tell you, man, I did not have an American on Grandma's bingo card. I just didn't see that coming. Don't know what the hell happened. But when it happened, I have to say I welled up. And then I started to really think about what the rest of the world thinks about us.
Do you care about that?
I'm just smiling at So, guys, it's a great thing for all of us. This guy, been researching the heck out of him. Good guy, man of the people, man of the world. Just so excited, and I hope that he continues with what Pope Francis had done and keeping us going on the progressive path. But that's enough of the religion. Let's go back to church.
I did hear kind of a cool little thing about when they're in their session. What do they call that?
Conclave.
Yeah. And there's restrictions on food they can have.
Oh, I did not hear that one.
Yeah. So they can't have things like ravioli. Do you know why?
No.
Because in the past, somebody would put a secret message inside the ravioli.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's got to be food that you can't hide, like instructions in.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild. No, I didn't hear that. No, I did hear this one.
Catholic in New York right now.
You are. You know what? I actually, a lot of my non-Catholic friends reached out to me to tell, hey, congratulations, which is kind of fun.
But
But
did they patronizing you, or did they really mean?
no, I think they really meant it. They're not like you. Yeah. All right. Gosh. One thing I did hear though is the guy, Pope Leo is born from Chicago, right? And he's a Cubs fan. And so, guess what? He doesn't like curtains. Ha ha.
You know, you heard that?
Was that you?
Yeah, it was.
Dang it.
Once again. Once again.
Did I do that again?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I actually was going to start.
I
But
give
brace for
Chris
it, Alan.
something, and it comes out as his great idea.
That's exactly where I was going to start this. But brace for it, Alan, because we got to get started. Guys, special episode. Today, we're going to talk to Cristi Decoufle. And we actually have her husband, Michael, in the studio with us. And our studio is just rocking. This thing is state of the art. This has got to be one of the highest end podcast recording studios anybody's ever seen. This makes
Fabulous recordings.
this makes Rogan's
Johns Creek, Georgia.
this makes Rogan's thing look like absolute dog shit. That's right. Oh, I'm up one. So we did have a pool because Cristi has an incredible background, and we got to get into that. She is a real estate agent in Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Oh,
It sounds like that, but wait, guys, wait, it gets better. Cristi,
We got to go back.
we got to go back to the beginning because she didn't start that way. She
Huge career in public service in a way that's going to blow your mind. Then a little bit of time in the private sector.
did a little time in the private.
No,
yeah,
I can't.
a little bit of
Go
time.
ahead.
No pun
Go
intended.
ahead. Just get it out of the way.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
What Michelle said.
So
And
public
then
service.
Yep.
And
private sector,
private sector,
and then entrepreneur.
and now entrepreneur.
Yep.
And let's give a little more tease. Cristi, what are some of the places you actually had to frequent in your public service career?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of strip clubs and massage parlors and what most people do when they're in law enforcement.
Awesome, guys. We're not only going to the sex area. We're going to go
Crimes unit.
sex crimes unit. We're going to be true crimes and sex. I mean, we're going to blow off the charts with this one.
Did you know?
Entrepreneurs. I told
Well,
you
you're
this is
on
not just real
Delta.
estate, baby.
They've got her documentary is on Delta still.
Is it still?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, last flight I was on. And
All
it's the Phoenix PD sex crimes unit. And there's Cristi busting pips.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were going to do that. I just got random calls from people like, "Hey, I saw you on Delta." I didn't even they were putting that.
So we have a true sex crimes star. Is that what Betty?
I think
Is
you're
there a
kind
Hall
of
of Fame?
putting it together a little incorrectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Because but she was busting, as you said, pimps.
Pimps and hooks.
Pimps and O's, baby. All right, Cristi. So we teased a little bit. Why don't you give us a little bit of what your background and your career were?
Oh goodness, I don't know where to start.
Well,
Where do
before
you want
that,
me to start? Yeah, where
I
do
mean,
you want me to start?
she's ex-army.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. Let's start. Yeah. How about we started from I was born? No, I'm just
No.
kidding.
No.
Let's go. Let's go.
Born in
You-
a small town, Kansas City.
So he's from
Chiefs
Kansas?
fan.
Uh,
Go Chiefs.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
We'll
most
go on.
people hate you now.
That's
Right, let's start right there.
That we already knew that.
Yeah.
So, but did you enlist in the Army right out of high school?
I was actually in ROTC.
So
That
you
was
went-
how I paid for college.
Nice. And then what did you do in the you went Army?
I went Army.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Military police. And went immediately into the Guard so I could get into my actual full-time career as a police officer. So I did I was a police officer in Phoenix and in the National Guard in Arizona.
Did you choose to be military police, or was it in the Army and they're like, hey, this is where we're going to put you?
My actual original choice was military intelligence, but at the time they were really backed up getting us into the school. So I went through the whole rigmarole of a year and a half background check, and and then they weren't getting us into the school in time, and I was going to lose my commission if we didn't get into
So
it.
you had to
school.
pick something.
So yeah, they were like, pick something else because the school isn't open, and so that was my next choice.
So as an MP, you're busting trunks and breaking up fights, and what are you doing?
No, the unit that I was in was
Or
like,
your Jack Reacher?
yeah, dignitary protection. That was the
Did you do
Dignitary
what?
protection?
dignitary protection.
Dignitary. Oh, protection.
Protection.
Oh, I heard dignitary production.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, darling. Who are you? I'm a diplomat. Oh, and who are you? Well, I'm somebody really important.
That's what we prepared for it. And then I ended up getting out of my guard unit like right before they
So
went
do you
overseas.
practice jumping in front of a bullet, or how? When you,
Kind of like moving dignitaries from one location to the other and protecting them in that sense.
Huh. All right. So it's like, and also the plan to move people around and make sure you had a security plan and had the safety and all the briefings done. Yeah.
And then
Uh-huh.
flying in front of them like Trump. No, I'm just kidding. But,
Yeah. I see. And jump, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. And jump again. Chris and Ellen's self-defense and protection program.
That's right.
Yeah. Call us. All right. So you get
we've started breaking bourbon.
and by the way, thank you for this fine bottle of Russell's Reserve.
Russell's Reserve.
Shout out to Russell.
Yes.
And so it's sponsored by Russell's, as I understand, Michael's favorite bourbon.
You know,
And
you might want
Alan?
to chime in because I don't know if it's your favorite, but Michael is such a bourbon snot. He doesn't even like Blanton's.
No, it's not worth the drive, the hunt, or the price.
Oh,
Well, there you
I
go.
disagree.
And they're not a gold nugget. That is definitely Fighting Words.
Yeah, I disagree.
But he is right. I mean, because remember, Bland started out like a $20-$25 bottle.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah. And so I think that's interesting. Let's get back.
Did it change when they put the little horsey on top?
I don't know. I just know that the history of it is that it was decent, but it wasn't even as good as Buffalo Trace in my mind. Still. All right, let's get back to Cristi, shall we? All right, so we go back. We're in Phoenix PD, and so you got what you wanted. You wanted to be in police and law enforcement, and so that's something you actually said, "Hey, I want to do that. I want to jump for the bullets."
Yeah. Well, I started out as a probation officer, but I was following people around, like checking in on them, but we didn't have guns or vests, and I was driving around in my own personal car, and it was really kind of unsafe. So I thought a police officer would be safer.
Because you'd have a gun.
Yeah, and a vest and backup, a radio.
All right, so how many years did you serve on the Phoenix PD?
Almost 22.
22 years.
Yeah.
And when you first started, they don't just plop you right in the sex crimes unit.
No, I was in patrol for about 5 years, and then just switched over, became a detective and got my certification, and you can pick where you want to go. I mean, you have to apply, but that's where I wanted to go.
So you were okay.
2005.
You're okay dealing with the seedy side of and the underbelly of people because you see the worst. I mean, right? When you see, that's a really bad.
I can tell you how long we know each other.
Long time. 12 years.
She's one of those, they like in the books that you read about people that you kind of hope it actually exists. She's one that sort of runs towards the noise, runs towards the bullets, runs towards the action. And it's kind of funny. I always joke, Michael and I have been friends for so long, and I'm like, must be kind of comforting for you to have Cristi go, check out all the scary noises.
That is not demasculating at all.
It might be true, but
All right, Cindy, cut that out.
And she never does.
No. So you enjoy that, but that takes a toll on people, doesn't
It
it?
does take a toll, but it was interesting to me to start with because my degree was in psychology. It was kind of, so to start with, it was very interesting. But once I got going in it and once I started interviewing victims and like really understanding what was going on, then it kind of became a passion because I just, just really helping the victims and getting involved in with the attorneys and like, developing programs to help victims and developing programs to help change the laws to make laws stricter. And it just became more of a passion. So it was.
So as you did that, one of the things that we did joke about is that you spent time in the massage parlor just quickly, but you actually were undercover.
Yeah, the entire time you're undercover. It was in an undercover position.
So how are you able to compartmentalize that here's my job, 8-10 hours a day, and I'm going to be dealing with them, but then I'm going to turn it off and go work with the regular community and be an upstanding citizen and realize that not everybody's a bunch of shitheads.
I think it's the stuff that makes the normal public mad is humor. I mean, you have to kind of turn it off and make fun of things, make fun of yourself, make fun of other things, and to be able to compartmentalize it. Because if you really truly like thought about it and like really dealt with it all the time, like then it's too much. So if you don't compartmentalize it and make light of it in some sense or have humor about it, that's the only really way to survive it, I think, which to the general public, I think makes us look insensitive, but it's really just a survival technique, I think. But yeah.
It's so hard, when people have to see the worst of people. I equate that to what I do, Alan, and I'm
it's
sure
kind
you
of like
love
being
that.
a real estate agent now.
Right? Exactly right. It's like being a handyman and then going to watch HCTV. Yeah, nope, not going to watch it because I don't deal with HCTV. I deal with the general public, and they're horrible. but not as horrible as what you saw. So that's why I say, all right, we teased it a little bit, but let's talk about this documentary that people can go check out.
Oh.
So how do we find it and what is it?
Well, there's a couple different ones, but I'd say the one that came out a few years ago, it was 2019, was the most recent. Is a really good one that it's called Sex Trafficking in America, and the a group from PBS and BBC followed us around our unit for like 3 years, and they created two different documentaries, one that came out in London and the one that came out here. But that's the one that's real easy to find in the U.S. Sex Trafficking in America, and you can just Google it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if they did that, do you feel like they did you justice? Did they portray what really went down as well as you thought they could have?
Yeah, I think so. I think the difference is really, production of how, in the United States and PBS wanted to focus a little bit more on the court system. And so it's more court system heavy but they're portraying the real trafficking in our unit. And then on the BBC side, they were focusing more kind of on our unit and on the detectives a little bit more and less on the court system. So it's just a lot of it's overlap of the same material, but what they focused on was a little bit different.
Michael, what did it feel like to have Cristi head out into some sort of sting operation to nail him?
That's so funny. I used to keep a list of things I didn't think my wife would ever say, but I can't talk to you now. I'm on the phone with my pimp, or I can't believe I'm only getting
$20 for a blowjob.
Yeah, that was it. But mostly was I've gotten more sleep in the last few years because she comes home every night, right? So come home at 3 a.m. and they're like, an undercover job has no gun, no vest. It's kind of a tough deal.
Well, I remember you were like, yeah, if she heads out and I got to worry about her. But then again, she is dressed like a stripper.
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, we'll deal with this with humor, but there are pros to it.
I love this.
Yeah.
We're gonna every genre. Man, we're gonna skyrocket after this. Talking about
Are we true crime again?
we're true crime.
Nice, high five.
Let's
go. Woo! So what are the stuff we can't talk about? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So you did that for 22 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So it's 5 years in, and then I started doing Vice, and then I did that pretty much the rest of my career. At the very end of my career, I decided I was like, oh, I'm going to learn something new, trying to figure out because I was thinking about like the next steps after retirement, and I went and became a background investigator for like the last few years of my career. That last couple of years, but that was, I think I had high hopes of doing that in a federal background investigator or doing that, but quickly went away.
so never along the lines of thinking about being an entrepreneur. You were always
No, not at that time.
you're staying. I'm staying I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm doing the right thing for people. I'm keeping all these entrepreneurs
Yep.
safe by doing all the things I'm doing, throwing bad people in jail. I mean,
Yeah. It was
She's a very good investigator. I can tell you a personal story. When those two started dating, Michael, I'm sure you talk on the phone with Troy pretty regularly, right?
I do.
Yeah, same thing, Michael and me. The next thing you know, there's this girl, Cristi, on the phone with me too. And I'm like, what's that all about? And then one time I get a phone call and she's like, hey, I've got a layover in the Atlanta airport. I want you to come meet me. And I'm like, you know how far away we are from the Atlanta airport.
Yeah.
Atlanta traffic. So it's a hell no to anybody. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay. And so I drive down there and we had 45 minutes at, what is it? Where were we?
little bakery.
Some little bakery. And she's just freaking drilling me with, questions. And I'm kind of doing the same because it's one of my best friends. And, who's this woman? But that's the way she is, and I guarantee it. Chris, if you're on Facebook, she's going to get you to friend some little fake entity that she has set up, and she's going to know everything about you. So you better tighten up, buddy.
Listen here, Tim. Well, you are still my best friend. You said you liked me, and I liked her too.
I had all these undercover profiles, and the only one I couldn't get through was stepdaughters, because I would always try to get in and just see what she was doing, and she would always like, I know that's your undercover profile. Looking at me, I'm not going to friend you. But she made me
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah.
I know. I was
Talking again. So, all right. So you do the sex crimes. Do you feel that you had an adrenaline thing? Was this an adrenaline type thing for you, or was it not?
or
To do the undercover work.
Yes and no. I mean, I think it takes a certain kind of person to be a police officer and do all that kind of stuff. I mean, I think you have to be a little bit of adrenaline junkie. But I think I've learned now as I progressed through these different phases of trying to figure out where I was going to go after the fact. I've learned now that I'm just um, master of trying to become whatever I'm like, figure out whatever I'm going to do. Like, so when I became undercover, I was all in. I'm learning how to do that. And then and I didn't realize it at the time, but then now that I've gone through all these stages of figuring out like all what to do next, because I was when you're in the government for so long, it was a process to move to where I am now. Um, and I'm became a master student at a lot of things, and I now that I go back, I can see that I was a master student on learning how to be undercover, and then a master student on learning how to be an investigator, and a master student on how to ask how to interview and how to prosecute, help the prosecutors and how to testify in trial. And, so like, I just like, I think that's more my thing than anything. Just be like that master student.
Do you feel like you guys were making a difference? And I know you have to hold on to that, or is it just this endless treadmill dealing with sex crimes?
A little bit of both.
Hmm.
A little bit of both. I think we definitely, especially our unit and Phoenix in general, just not just our unit, but like a combination of the attorneys and the nonprofits and the churches and everybody that got together. I think made a big difference in Phoenix and the movement across the United States. But it's also a trend.
Yeah, people talk about it a lot more. And I
Yeah.
know that you also work with the FBI, right?
Yeah.
And then you would go on this speaking tour.
Yeah.
Who were you speaking to?
Everybody, a lot of people.
Just for awareness, or
I taught. Well, I did some awareness, and then I also taught a lot of law enforcement. I taught attorneys. I taught social workers, nurses, doctors.
Specifically around sex trafficking
Yeah,
and how to
sex
identify it.
Mhm.
Because you're right, it has become now I guess it's
Yeah,
like
people
human
know about it.
trafficking. Yeah, and I say Atlanta's one of the worst places, by the way. Yeah, I don't want to hear about all that stuff. That stuff just creeps
and I
me
mean
out
it's
every
in our
time.
backyard
Right.
here in Johns Creek, big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But I will
Yeah,
say Atlanta was right along with Phoenix at that being at the forefront of like being on top of things and putting it out there, getting out, putting stuff out in the airports, having stuff on safe homes and being on top of things. So
yeah. I mean, again, it's just something you don't want to hear about it, and then when you do hear about it, you're like, no, that can't be possible. That can't be possible. And then, as Alan just said, literally one neighborhood away from where we were doing the podcast was a big human trafficking ring got busted there. And they're like, oh my gosh.
yeah,
And
it's
just-
everywhere. People just don't want to see it.
We don't want to see it. You're right. All right. So you said it takes a certain kind of person, but you mentioned something that I thought was really interesting. Is you love the educational part. I love getting myself so informed on things to take on that next challenge. Do you feel like a lot of the other people in your profession have that same kind of mentality?
I do. I learned a lot. So when I decided when I decided I was retiring, I was going to go on to the next step. I found, I think I learned from Michael and Alan to join LinkedIn and create a profile and start looking and
A legit profile.
yeah, a legit profile. I had 14 profiles now. I'm just kidding. Just one LinkedIn profile, but I started working LinkedIn and figuring out how to like work LinkedIn, and that kind of became my job. And but in LinkedIn there is a whole community of law enforcement helping law enforcement leave law enforcement and move on to like the next step.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
and I didn't know that, and everybody's there helping each other like educate and like how do you get what do you do next, and how do you get out of government and how to do that and what to do next.
So it just shows you again, when you think you're alone, you're really not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of support.
You don't
and
have
help.
to be, I
Right.
guess, is maybe a way to
Yeah, you
put
don't
it.
have to be. Go seek that fly. Go seek the group you want to be with.
I kind
And-
of wish I would have found that group a little earlier in my
Yeah.
in my quest. I did
Well,
a lot of
I
work
know
on my own
you-
before I found that group.
You want instant results, and I mean there is some value through going through the process and the journey, and you just can't get from here to there with the snap of a finger. You have to go through the process.
Yeah. Learning LinkedIn and talking to people, and that became my job.
So with your
I
real
became
estate clients,
obsessed with it.
are you using your interrogation skills with them?
You do more than you realize, not just naturally. You can't help it.
All right, we jumped quick. So I want to know. We'll get back to that in a minute. But let's go back. I want to know how the hell she got into real estate in Blue Ridge, Georgia, busting pimps in Phoenix.
You don't see the straight line correlation?
No, just not really. It's just not
Connected.
connected. Kind of like my entire career, it's not connecting.
Yeah. Well, I have this imaginary, I don't know what I'd call it, but
Friend.
yeah, no. But in my mind, I thought when I left law enforcement, I needed to go into the corporate world because I thought that was what you're supposed to do, and that's that's the golden egg. Like that's the end all be all. Like I needed to be corporate because that was so opposite of everything I knew and what I'd done before. So that was what I was striving for. And so I did everything I could to get into the corporate world. And I did. I got in there and which was great. You can say not really. I mean, I did it. It was great because I did it. And I got a job as a law enforcement liaison for a tech company. And I was making good money and I was working from home, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I can make my own schedule and I can make good money and I don't have to go into the office every day. And I just sign on the computer and I'll hop on meetings and this is great. This is like the perfect, like it checked all my boxes of what I thought I wanted.
Right? You're safe.
Right.
You get a check every 2 weeks. You get 401k, that math.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Healthcare
and as
benefits.
friends of theirs, they're very different than a lot of people. I mean, they want to spend their money on travel.
Yeah.
As opposed to stuff.
Experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
And
big travelers.
so for the two of them to have careers that would allow them to travel was important.
So that's part of the why, right?
Right.
I mean, we talked about that. So you love to travel.
Love to travel.
All right.
And that is what led us to be, we were, I retired in quotes, and so we knew when we retired because the kids were out of high school and we were like, we want to move to the mountains. And having both of us having jobs where we can work from home and virtual jobs that afforded us the ability to be able to buy a home in the mountains and get out of Phoenix and be able to do that. So that's how we got from Phoenix to Blue Ridge. So that was that jump.
Flying right over the Rockies.
Right.
Right over the
Not those mountains.
Not those now.
Right, wrong mountains.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got here to Blue Ridge.
Overrated.
I want to go back to that corporate stuff. You said, you know what? It sounded really attractive. It sounded so sexy. It sounded so much like what I wanted to do. And Al and I talk about this all the time. When I left, everybody's like, "Oh, I wish I could do what you did." I'm like, "No, you don't," because being an entrepreneur, it's hard as balls, man. No, you guys like getting your check. Don't lie. You like getting your health care. You like knowing you're 8 to 5. And if you're having a bad day, you still get paid. I have a bad day, I don't get paid. So you got into it. You're like, "Oh, it's gonna be great," but what just drove you insane?
A couple of things. One, I thought the government was like slow and messed up. I mean, the corporate world was worse. Like
Really?
people could not. One hand couldn't talk to the other. Everybody it was so messed up. It was so backwards. Like nothing could get done. And I just felt like I was so frustrated. Like I felt things seemed like they should be so easy, and it just wasn't. And I could not understand why things were like, and I feel like it was because people were just lining their pockets and purposely doing it so they could just, I don't know, it
Justify their existence.
justify their
keep them-
existence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
right.
just to get paid and things were just not happening. And that was frustrating. And then, without being too political or not political, but whatever, it's a little too, it was a tech company. So it was just a little too woke for me. And it didn't align with, I know I came from government. It couldn't be more. It was just extremely opposite.
So you had all this money. You and Mike could go travel. You did your thing. You got
So
the
we bought a
work from home.
cabin.
But you could have stayed there. So what drove you to say that's enough?
I got no.
There we go. Was she miserable?
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Let's just talk about miserable. She got laid off the day we closed on our house in Blue Ridge.
Oh boy.
So there's an inflection point, right? Like what decision do you make? Well,
Yeah.
We took a leap.
Yeah. We were deciding if I should, if we should even move or if I should go to try to find another corporate job, another online job, if I should. And I just was like, I'm not I'm not going to go through that again. I'm not going to, I had a steady job for so long that I wasn't going to get fired from. And then I was already so unhappy. I had to, it was a blessing in disguise. As frustrated as I was and as angry as I was that I got laid off, it was, it was really a blessing because I was so unhappy and I hated it. And so then I was just like, okay, but what do I do? Because now I'm in this small town. I came from this big city where there's like all these opportunities. And now I'm in this small town. And I'm like, okay.
And you don't know anybody.
I don't
but
know.
It's a complete reset.
Don't know anybody. I'm in a tiny town. And I was making good money. I'm like, how am I going to make an, a semi-equivalent kind of money in this small little town? Like, how do I've always made my own money. I've always like felt like I could contribute. Like,
So
I've been an independent woman my whole life, in that sense. I've always had my own income.
let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people say, well, it's not always about the money. Well, clearly, because that's what I do, is always fucking run away from it. But it is about the money, but because doesn't that give you like a little bit more of your self-worth, your self-value? Like you said something was really important. I've always been my own work.
Right.
You define your self-worth by how much money you make? Is
Uh,
that what I'm hearing?
well, if I did,
On the day they elect the Pope, and you come up with something like that,
there's no reason I'm not the Pope, brother.
Yeah.
I was never, I wasn't.
That's exactly.
There's a long list. There's 1.6 billion Catholics. I think I'm 1.6.12.
But I think you hit the nail on the head that it's about the money, but it's for me, it's for a woman, maybe not all women, but for me, it was more about my self-worth. The money equaled my self-worth.
Right.
Because I had always been able to take care of myself.
I don't think a lot of people will outly say that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say, no, it's not about the money. It's about happiness and finding true joy and doing all this. Oh, screw that. It's when you have a ton of money and then you can do all that stuff and travel around. You know it, Alan. I know it. You know it. That's why we do it.
I felt really guilty for my husband, like having to like take care of me. I'm not never been that person. And that made me really uncomfortable and really depressed. I couldn't do that. So I quickly was like, what the heck am I going to do?
Right.
What am I
Now
going
what?
to do? And Michael, coming from working in the entrepreneur world, we talked with him. I was just like, you know what? Let's try real estate. Let me just try. I didn't want to try to bind up one of the businesses that he was related to or something like that. So I was like, let's try something different. But I will tell you, he coached me a lot. If I didn't have him coaching me through, because he was like, okay, we're going to give it 18 months, which 18 months seemed like a lifetime, because I was just like, no, I'm just having a paycheck every 2 weeks. And 18 months seemed like forever, because I felt like I was working my ass off and getting with like money and time every day, all day long, with zero income coming in. And it took me almost a year before I had like my first any paycheck at all, which was $400. I mean, it was just stupid.
I think that the profession of real estate agent is going to change drastically over the next, here we are in 25, and they changed the law last year. But the way everything is going and the way the internet gives you so much information.
don't say AI. Don't make this an AI discussion.
No, we're not going AI. You brought it up. Do you want to bring it up?
No,
All right, then
I didn't bring it up. I know that's where you're going.
No, that's not where I'm going. I'm going this way. I think
Where is going to build my next deck?
it is not, and it is beautiful, and that deck is not going to. Anyway, back to the. I think what's going to happen though, because I'm seeing it happen now, is that, hey, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm going to piddle at real estate, and I'm just going to pick off my ladies at church and my friends in PTA. No, those people are gone, and I'm watching them go out of the market very quickly, because people realize you can get so much information so quickly. But then the people who really want a professional involved know what a professional looks like, and I think that. But you hit on something. Let's talk about this. It's hard to build a book of business in anything in a brand new market. You didn't know anybody. You plop into Blue Ridge, Georgia, Alan. And how do you deal with people like Alan from Blue Ridge, Georgia? And how did you get into that network? How did you?
I immediately joined, of course, I'm a school person, right? So I did the real estate school, did that part, but immediately joined everything that I could possibly join. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, became an ambassador, joined the Kiwanis Club, I got on a board of the local girls' home because that's what is part of the passion of, human trafficking. So that was still, so like immediately just started networking with anybody and everybody I could and network with. And
you were building fences for people with dogs.
Yeah,
who shouldn't have dogs.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford to have a dog.
There was a
And
group,
have their own fence. But that's another part.
yeah, it was Freedom from FIDO. There was any volunteer group that I can join. I was joining and meeting people and just getting out of the house and and just working and meeting people. Yeah, that's Alan's favorite topic, dogs. I listened to that podcast.
I gotta
by the
say,
way. That was Alan on fire.
I love dogs. I just don't like the people that own them. But I gotta say,
Well,
Wait,
thank
we
you.
have to go back to
What's
that
that,
one.
Well, thank you.
Our dogs.
oh my god! And what? You're the rare example of people that I actually like and like your dogs. All
Yeah.
kind of equal.
So
Equally. Oh, wow. Thanks, Alan.
so I'll just stay here. I home office for that first 8 months, 12 months. And those first 12 months of home office, Christy didn't let me out of the house, not once. And I was just grinding at work. By the time I got to get out of the house and network myself, oh, you're Christy's husband. You're
Yeah.
Christy's husband. Oh, I don't know you, but I know Christy. I mean, you did such a great job.
I've never seen anything like it. And you know me, Mr. Networker. I've been on the cover of a magazine for networking, and then she in 6 months knows freaking everybody in the town of Blue Ridge. And not just knows them, but they're like, ooh, Christy. Yeah.
You're not jealous, are you?
Uh,
You do. You have a little networking.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going
Come on,
to confess that.
Come on up, Alan.
You-
Leave you alone.
I will hear your confession next time.
Thank you.
What
What
do
do I
we-
need to do to?
But remember, 1.6 million and one. Yes. Yes. Confession. So, all right. So you network. We talk
You
about
just
that
have to
all
be
the
nice to
time.
people with dogs, because everybody has dogs in Blue Ridge.
It's just way too many people with dogs.
As
And
Alan
bring
wears
them
his
to places.
as
Why
Alan
don't
wears
they
his
bring them to places.
grumpy old man brewing stuff where dogs are allowed. Everybody had a dog.
You know, you
The
would
one
think
time
a
we met
place
up
called
there.
Grumpy Old Man Brewery would say no dogs because we're grumpy.
Yeah, but they realized that they soften you up a little bit there.
And just a little tidbit of networking: the people that own Grumpy Old Man also are the head of the Humane Society in Blue Ridge. So
look at that! Look who's got a man.
You
No,
don't want
it's
to know.
over there.
This was
No,
in my
it's-
head.
Yeah.
It was going to be an awful statement. I won't put it out there.
Yeah, if you've ever been to Blue Ridge, it is a beautiful place and it's growing. You guys obviously picked an incredible place to move to. But going back to it again, it's hard to get into those established places. And how did you do it? You made the beachhead through networking. I mean, we talk about this all the time. Even if you absolutely hate it, you got to do it, man. You have to. And Alan and I have talked about this a lot. In fact, one of the best guys that we think is a good networker, admittedly doesn't like doing it. But he knows it's important for him to do it, and he puts himself out there and goes after it. So I think that's been great. But now you have to prove your way.
I want to throw in one more thing. Through her networking, she also leaned into the network she already had, which I think is pretty shrewd. So talk about that a little bit.
I don't know. In what sense? What are you talking about?
The fact that
The
you're
Benson Hose out of Arizona.
former military, former law enforcement, that kind of thing. So when she had a prospect,
Well, yeah. I mean, I made a bio that I put online and talked about my bio a little bit. Are you talking about like people that have found me through?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, so I've had people find me through my bio, like ex law enforcement or ex military, who are just searching for people who are military or law enforcement, and they found me that way, and then they have been amazing clients, and then have been referred me to other military and law enforcement, and that has been a great network for me.
yeah, and it's not necessarily a niche, but she's taking advantage of the network or of the skills that she already had and is using it to her advantage. And
Yeah.
it's been very,
Yeah.
and just instinctively, or with maybe a little help from Michael, but has
I did tell Christy about the Alabama leg humpers. Can we go there?
let's talk about
Okay,
all
so-
that leg numbers.
Yeah. So I had this expression that Alan taught me: the people that go around networking and they go from one network group to another, right? Just ask for business, and you
Yeah.
never see them again.
Yeah, those are leg numbers.
They're like humpers. Well,
I picked up. You know what, Alan? I will give you that. I use it all the time. I can't remember where I heard it from.
Forgot where you heard it.
No,
from.
I know.
I-
What's another one?
I hate it.
Yeah. And Michael, I didn't appreciate that. I don't. I like to
me
not.
hopping on his horse too, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, well,
things
yeah,
that
well.
are better about Michael.
You know what? Similar to the dog syndrome, I like to beat my dog and leave him in the corner. And
There's a lot to be said about that comment, but I won't jump on that one. But I'll say one of the things that I told Christy is like, if you're going to join a networking group, if you're going to join any organization, you go all
Don't hunt flames.
They want to see you every week. They want to see you being productive. And for the most part, up in Blue Ridge, there's a lot of people that are not from Blue Ridge in Blue Ridge because they want to invest in the community. And you showed up like day one, wanting to invest in the community. And they saw that.
that's huge. I mean, that's a great lesson for anybody in any business is that if you want to sit in your office and wait for the business to come to you, odds are it's not going to happen.
Well, don't just go there to promote yourself. Go there and actually be part of the community. Go there and actually volunteer. Go there and actually participate in things. Don't. There's a difference between going there and just promoting yourself and actually going there and participating.
So let me ask you about that. So you haven't been classically trained in sales.
Not at all.
No. And
Well, I mean, let's go back again.
Okay.
well, she
right.
can sell.
She was selling the oldest
professional in the world.
That's right, baby.
And I did call Alan about that because there was something I heard on your podcast.
Oh,
Remember that?
no. Go
Okay.
ahead. Tell me.
There was something I heard on your podcast one day of it was what was it? How it was talking about somebody was talking about the I'm not going to say the words right, but the acting like you don't need it.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? The
Oh no, you
Sexy indifference.
You don't want to be selling like you need the paycheck on Friday to people.
Is that not?
Yeah,
is
what-
that not the right word?
what's
That's not. I don't.
Sexy
I
indifference.
don't remember you saying that in the
No,
podcast.
no,
but-
no. It was there was somebody that was talking
Work.
about. There's a term for it, and I'm
Yeah,
trying to.
it's sexy
detachment.
indifference.
Yeah, all right.
it's-
You know, actually, I heard that from somebody once. And let me
Right.
tell you about it, Al.
I don't want to hear about anything sexual from you.
But if you oh man, it's gonna kill me. But anyway, when you don't act like you're hungry for it, if you're not acting like
That desperate. You can't
act
sell desperate.
Yeah, you can't sell desperate. That you had something. What's that one good that you? And it was somebody was talking about you. If you act like you're desperate, then people smell that. They feel that. And I listened to that podcast. I called Alan. I said, so maybe I did learn something about sales, like on the street, because we would at prostitutes, we would stand on the street, and guys would come up to us and be like, I think you're a cop. I think you're too clean, or your teeth are too white, or something. I think you're a police officer."
Oh, God.
And then I would just
Yes,
be like,
it's horrible.
and I would be like, "Okay, fine. Well, then leave. Just leave then." And then they would be like, "Oh," because they would expect me to like try, and if I just told them to leave me alone, then they would be like, "Oh, okay. Well, then how much for a blowjob?" Or they would turn around and immediately like ask for it.
Well, there's
And-
a Tootsie Roll pop involved.
No, but- Well, yeah, I used to also suck on Tootsie Pops a lot.
Oh,
The suckers.
that
That was a
what
little
do they
trick.
call that? That
Baiting.
yeah, that's mean.
Totally got baited.
Super mean.
Dude, I'm going. You know what?
That's a little trick of the trade.
That's a little- I have definitely cleaned that one out hard when I did that. Dude, I was baited. What?
He had
She
a
was-
Tootsie.
She had a Tootsie Roll, Judge.
There is an answer, but how many lips it get this?
Oh my God. All right. This is a great segue to how to sell real estate.
Yeah.
So let's see. What do we learn? If you want to be a good real estate agent, suck a Tootsie Pop, keep dirty teeth, and don't look too clean.
So, again, to compare the interview, not necessarily interview skills, but a little bit interview skills, but listening skills. Real estate overlaps so much. Like if you aren't listening to your clients, if you aren't listening to the people of like what they actually want, I think so many real estate agents just do what they want to do instead of actually listening to their clients and really truly helping them find what they want to find. And I think those listening skills have helped me be successful.
I think it helps anybody on that. And you're right, because when you talk to somebody in a real estate transaction, what is the very first thing they say? How much is my house worth and how fast can you sell it? Right? That's 1, 2. So what are their pain points? They want as much money as they can. They want to pay you as least as possible, and they want it done as fast as possible. Well, there's others. And the same thing in selling and remodeling. What do you want? I want as much as I can get for as little as I can pay, and I want it done in 22 minutes, just like HGTV. So, but really, you start digging in under those pain points. Like, why are you moving here now? Yeah, so is that what you're really digging for?
Yeah, that and I think the third thing that I well, like I seem to be doing well on it, that I'm just bluntly honest with people, and
If you didn't pick that up in the car,
but I think they appreciate it. I mean, I think people are they're tired of being snowed all the time, and I don't come in and pretend to be this. I don't know. I think maybe people think they're expecting real estate agents to be this big person on TV, and I'm just really. And if I think a house is good for them, I'll let them know. And if I think it's not, and I tell them all the reasons that something's good and what's not. And I'm right from the get go. I followed inspectors around and learned as much as I could. Again, that student part. So I could then, when I'm showing houses, I can say before they even want to put an offer in, I'm like, look, this isn't going to be good. This is inspector's going to find this. This is, and I can add that value and be very blunt with them when they're like, oh my God, I love this house. And I'm like, nah, there's a problem,
is there a
and
problem? Yeah.
so it's not, I don't know how many people I've talked into homes that are way cheaper than what they've come to me with their budget on, because it's not about that. It's trying to find the right thing for them. And I think they appreciate it.
I did not expect that.
Which part?
I expected that, as a result of talking to them, I'm getting them to buy stuff that's a lot more than what their budget was.
That's interesting.
Just
You're
the
right.
opposite.
She did. She actually put somebody in the right house
Why
for
was
them.
my deck cheaper than what I expected?
because Alan, you have a very blunt person who is also very blunt that he has got to make more money.
I don't have to come up with material, so
You don't need as big a boat. It's good.
That's true. I know we're coming to the end of this podcast, and where we are right now in the story of this is that I assume you're working for a real estate agent. And you're not on your own just yet. You went out there, you networked. Did you start on your own? Right, there we go.
Yeah, well, because I didn't know what I was doing, I started with a team because I needed to learn. But I'm a quick learner, and so after about a year, I decided to go off independent, and so just launching with some other partners, our own partnership. So we just started our own partnership. We're under Keller Williams as a brokerage, but we started our own group called True Blue Mountain Group.
All right, let's plug it.
Yeah,
True Blue, look at that.
Yeah,
Little
True
top
Blue.
reference there.
Yeah, little cop reference, little Blue Ridge reference, little honesty reference, a little bit of all of it.
Nice.
That's what
What were some of the ones that you turned down?
Gosh, now I can't remember, man. We spent some hours in a car driving together, coming up with.
We ain't pimps and hoes.
I know we did have a lot of things we were throwing out the window.
Got lots of dogs.
Yeah, True Blue really stuck for us, and I think it
This dog will hunt.
Yeah, there's four of us. Yeah, and we're there to just make sure that between the four of us, we want to make sure that everybody's always taken care of, and that's what really stuck with us. That to our core, we're just honest. The four of us are just like we want to give back. We're honest. We want to give back to our community, and that's kind of our
True Blue
Mountain Group.
True Blue Mountain Group. We can make a song out of that. There's a jingle.
No, I tried to say that too fast the other day, and somebody thought I said True Blue Mountain Dew. That's not it. True Blue Mountain Group.
Still good. Cristi, that's been awesome. Michael, this has been great. What we're going to do, though, guys, is we're going to go ahead and just say we're done right now.
We're going to flip seats.
We're going to flip seats, and we're going to put Michael in the hot seat and take him out of the chamber. We had him in the chamber. You want to remind me of what's that? Do you remember the?
I get to see at least give me one of the four questions, because I want to show one book.
All right, no, let's do. Oh, no, we're doing all four questions. You want to do that? I'm ready to do. Let's do
all four questions.
We do, because I want DIY shit.
Oh, well, I have no DIY shit. That's one thing.
Yeah, Michael will have that.
Michael will have that.
All right, all right, so we'll split them up. You get to give us your favorite book you'd recommend to our audience of people trying to scale their business or start their business.
Okay, and I don't really read a lot, and it's an audiobook. But the reason I love this book so much, I know.
No,
I have to say,
you're like, I want to tell my book, but I
don't
really don't
read.
need them.
But
Green eggs and eggs.
but it's Green Light, and I know it sounds silly, but it's Green Light by Matthew McConaughey, and I read it or listened to it. Right? No, I listened to it, but it was before I went through this whole journey, and I didn't understand how important it was going to be to me until after the fact. But the whole concept, the main concept of the book is he talks about how you take bad situations and you turn them into good things. He calls it the green light. So when something, when it's like it's like a red light, you turn it into a green light. And it's listening to the audiobook is really entertaining because it's him narrating it, so that just makes it that much better. But I'm sure it's just as great of a read. But I went through so many ups and downs leaving the police department and trying to figure out where I belonged and what was going to work for me. And it was such a journey for me to do that, to get to where I am now, which is where I needed to be. And it just resonates with me so much. And so
What a great endorsement.
Yeah, it was
You know what?
awesome book. And I
Shout out.
didn't know it.
McConaughey.
Yeah,
Look at
didn't
that.
know it then, but it's perfect.
Do it. And
Nice.
All right.
I'm gonna go.
You jumped in on it.
it.
Michael has to. All right. You did.
You said
Yeah, but you were too late. And Michael jumped in. He win. You were
in
slow.
the pause. That he
Well,
said.
Pregnant pause.
I'm waiting. All right. Nope. Pregnant pause is over. Let's go. All right. What's the favorite feature of your current home?
More
Oh,
questions.
I get one more.
She gets
Yeah,
two.
I get two and he gets two. Okay. Our deck. So we have a part of our deck is screened in and it's indoor with a grill inside with a vent and everything. And then you go to the outside part that we just built that wraps around. It's got this whole big outdoor wrap around part that we just finished. And so like between the indoor and the outdoor part, it wraps around. It's awesome. Sorry.
And great views.
Oh, views. Yeah. Got views. We need to cut down if you want to.
I like dogs.
Yeah, but
I like dogs.
we'd love
Bye-bye,
to have
Ellen.
you for a barbecue.
You can talk about cutting down the bushes to make your deck look bigger.
I was gonna say. I said I love it. I love it when chicks come out here and talk about my dad. I mean, they're dad. So this has been fun, guys. If you can learn something, you learned a lot. First of all, human trafficking, that sucks. You know anything about it? Do something about it, and get back in there and help people out. If you don't see the underside, seedy belly of what happens with crappy people, help somebody else out who can has the stomach to do this stuff. So don't forget to wrap the blue, do all that. I think that part is amazing. Love what you did. Thank you for your service, Cristi. This has been great. But we got to go because we got to do this one more time with Michael. Go check this next one out because we're going to get faster.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve that higher altitude you're looking for in the wild world of small business ownership. And until next time, make it a great day.